So moving on into bomb-proof anchors. So bomb-proof is actually a term that is not in the NFPA standard. It is a accepted jargon that is in the industry that we use a lot. Bomb-proof anchor is not in there. Two-person rope system is not in there. But in NFPA 2500, it says that you have to have an unquestionably sound anchor for the rescue that you're performing, and that can handle all of the load potential of that system. So that being said, when we get down to low versus steep versus high angle, you can kind of start to think of what is the potential to load that system? What is the potential to heavily load that system? What type of anchor do I need? Do I need multiple anchors? But when thinking of an anchor, you need to think of the operation that you're going to actually be doing and how much weight and load you're going to be putting on it and the force potential of that load. But NFPA 2500 also works and correlates with OSHA. OSHA 1926-502 states that a bomb-proof anchor, or rather a sufficient anchor when not a industrial designed anchor. So again, like at our tower, those anchors are designed to be anchors. Out in the environment, a tree is not designed to be that anchor. Has to be, those anchors that are not designed to be anchors that you're going to be capturing have to at least be 5,000 pounds, rated at 5,000 pounds per rescuer. Again, out in the gray environment, we can only do the best we can. Just keep that in mind. You need a bomb-proof anchor. Once you have that bomb-proof anchor, we move into anchorage. And anchorage is where this gets really critical and sometimes overlooked. If you have an anchor that's bomb-proof at 5,000 pounds, 5,000 pounds, and you're going to be using that anchor for your entire rescue system, main and belay line, whether you're doing dual tension or not, each belay line, each lifeline has to have its own anchor strap. Now you can do this by using two anchor straps. You can do this by doubling up your webbing and doing a redundant knot on your webbing. So that way you have two separate independent anchor straps. Once you have an additional piece of anchorage for every line, you can build two systems off this. Now that we have the new equipment like the clutch, you're going to be seeing this a lot. So just always remember, bomb-proof anchor, 5,000 pounds or more per rescuer, if possible. And then if you're building all of your systems off of this one anchor, you need at least one piece of anchorage, a separate anchorage or anchor straps per lifeline that you're going to be using, main and belay. If you mold multiple systems on it, you're just going to keep adding anchorage. Just be aware that you're putting a lot of load on that anchor, and maybe it's time to find another anchor or at least back tie this anchor to strengthen it. So we talked about bomb-proof anchors. We talked about anchorage. Now we're going to talk about a big topic that's been brought up a lot, critical endpoints. Everything in rope rescue, especially in the high angle world where we're going to be putting all of our weight, all of our life on the rope, we want an entire backup system to that. However, every rope system does have two critical endpoints. One critical endpoint's your anchor. That means if that anchor fails, everything goes. And then usually way down here on your harness, the webbing in your harness is a critical endpoint. You don't put a second harness on for that backup. You have multiple connection points, but the harness itself, right, the webbing. There's other things that they allow to have critical endpoints, or what they will call master points. And that is going to be things like these anchor plates. You'll see anchor plates. You'll see equipment like the squid, bullnose rings. Pretty much it has to be a general rated piece of equipment manufactured by an approved company and has to be general rated over 40 kilonewtons of force. In this case, this is minimum breaking strength of 45 kilonewtons. It's made out of one piece of metal, no welds. It's extruded aluminum. This is okay to use as what they call a master point. So you have your bomb-proof anchor. You have multiple pieces of anchorage for each lifeline that you're using. 2 carabiners, because that counts as anchorage, into 1 collection plate. And you can build 2 lifelines, 1 main and belay, off of this 1 plate. The bullnose ring on our pick-off systems you might notice with your litter harness when you're doing aerial operations with the truck. It all comes up to one ring. Now we do have long-tail ball-ends. We do still try to tie in multiple times so you have redundancy there. But technically that bull ring is a good critical endpoint. It can be a master point for the system. So you will see, and when we do training, and then when you go out and do rims specifically, you will see where you have a master point on your system. Sorry, my marker. There we go. A master point on your system with two ropes, main and belay, coming off of that one collection plate. And that is approved, and you can do that. Something that you may see out there that we're not using or condoning here, going with anchorage, you can use rope using a football knot. Something you should probably look up, or we can do a video on it later, where you're using the rope itself as anchorage, rated at 9,000 pounds. Every time you wrap the tree or that anchor and you get another strand of rope, those are all, and you tie all that off with a figure eight on a bend. Those are all good pieces of anchorage to use. Prusik cord, absolutely good use of a Prusik cord is going to be as anchorage onto an anchor, where you'll clip your carabiner here and you can run your system right off of a Prusik cord. And then our Texora bands or Texora slings, which are rated, the Mamba is rated at, I believe, a little over 50 kilonewtons, and the larger multicolored Texora is going to be rated at 100 kilonewtons. Okay, so we talked about our anchor, what makes a bomb-proof anchor. We know that bomb-proof isn't a term being used in an FBA 2500, but rather a accepted jargon of the industry. We talked about anchorage and how even if you have a bomb-proof anchor, for every line that you have going off of that anchor, you need its own anchor strap or anchorage. We talked about what it makes a master point or a critical endpoint. Your anchor is one, the webbing on your harness is one, and then general rated anchor plates or collection plates that are made out of one piece of metal, made by a company, stamped as general over 40 kilonewtons. That can be used also as a critical endpoint on your system.